Okay, my friends, I just saw that President Biden had a summit on global warming and climate change and so forth. And I'd love to have some input because I pretty well understand what's going on now in some respects. There's a lot of problems. One of them is that the surface of the Earth is literally collapsing due to extraction of fluids of all types, gases, oils, water. And here's what happens. You see that beam of light? And you see this in the middle of a storm. You see this beam of light. You see this water spout. Well, what does it mean to be in the middle of a storm, and what does it mean to be a water spout? It means a change in pressure. Pressure, push. All right, so whatever this did, it loosened a plug. And that plug collapsed and forced atomic gases, which are methanes, hydrocarbons, to slam like that. And that's called atomic shock. And when you do that, you get a beam of light, just like this comes straight up through there, because it's a tube. And these are the same tubes you see in Florida and all over the place. Now, I studied sinkholes for a long time. I did a 9-part series on this 6 years ago and talked to the Russians, the Japanese. I talked to a lot of people about this. And at that point, it was a hot topic and it got dropped because it's too invasive to our way of life. It's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect the gas companies. It's going to affect everybody. But it leaves open a whole new area of development. So it's got to be seen in that light, not as something to avoid. It's something to embrace and transition into, because we can get out of this mess we're in, and we don't have to frack the earth. And I mean, it might be even too late, because the earth, I think, is a living creature. I did a lot of research on this. I have more research on this than anyone that's on the face of the planet today. I can guarantee you of that, and I will show you some right now. All right, now this is back to summer of 2015, and I won't bore you with all the details, but I'm showing these gigantic sinkholes and how there is nothing underneath them. So that the surface of the earth has like a skin. And when that skin drops, it's all over. And when it does, you get these pulses of light and explosions and everything else. And that's what the Russians were worried about. And I did work with the Russians a little bit. And then I came out here and I showed bubbling hydrogen. Once again, this is in Canada. Hydrogen bubbling up like crazy. Huh. And this guy's filming it. I would be running my ass off. Anyway, and then there's all these explosions all over the earth and all of these different anomalies they can't explain. All right, this is how the Japanese and the Russians got a hold of me. And again, the summer, I did a whole series of this. And this was Sinkhole Fiery Collapse, Part 1. I did 9-part series. And this shows a volcano-type situation exploding, but you're going to see all the sinkholes open up and start flames. Now, starting out here to show. Here goes. Will ignite. See it? There you go. They lit up. Now, it's seeping little bits of gases out of there now. It's burning really hot. You see that? That is the kind of a flame from hydrogen. Intense, like an acetylene torch. Very, very, very intense. It keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Watch. You ready? Here it goes. Boom. There's the pulse. Okay. That was... Continue. That pulse was when it dropped down and gave the shock. That gives you the... Let's look at that pulse again. And then notice how bright it gets, because now the gas can get around the plug. All right, so here we are back here. Watch. Watch here. Watch. You ready? Here it goes. Boom, there's the pulse. Now watch. Now, look at it grow. It continues on, and they're seeing these pulses of light shoot up straight through the earth. And that is the collapse of the sinkhole on top of the... It just keeps getting growing. Look at it grow. Look at that. Boom, going back. No clue. Going back the other way. And then they start to go all over the wherever there was sinkholes. And because the Earth was a living creature, or is a living creature, all of these tunnel systems that they're now discovering, oh wow, holy smokes, there's all these tunnels, they must have been digging. Well, it was a creature and it had blood running through it, and the arteries and veins were absolutely enormous. And Tyson is out on the West Coast doing fabulous work out there. He's got a new drone, and he's documenting these things that are just so far beyond the average imagination that they just can't even get their eyes to look. That's the problem. And this was 6 years ago. I knew all this stuff at that point, and if we'd have started looking then, maybe we'd have something going on. And the same thing has happened with my light research, because in the light research, I think there's a way that we can harvest an enormous amount of energy. And they say this, at least 200 times more energy if you can disassociate the muon from the rest of the particles. And I can. So I'm not just bringing you problems saying, yeah, we got all kind of problems. Yes, well, we got solutions too. We need to get together and do some solutions. Elon Musk is saying he's going to give a whole bunch of money to somebody that can fix carbon dioxide. Well, let's just fix and get the electrical stuff working so we don't even have to try to recoup the carbon dioxide. And we also may be able to take CO2, which is a carbon and two oxygens, and put it through our venturi and turn that into hydrocarbons, which means you break the oxygens back into hydrogens, which is the smallest molecule. So here you are up at oxygen. You smash this into little tiny bits, it reforms down into hydrogens, and then you have hydrocarbons, because a carbon is sort of going to be a stable. Carbons are pretty stable. You're going to have let's just go with that. There's a possibility of going from hydrocarbons originally and ending up with carbon dioxide, and then going back into hydrocarbons. All right, and all you're doing is keeping the carbon and changing the oxygens back into hydrogens. And I think we can do that with the venturi. So I need some help. Elon Musk, President Biden, somebody step up, and because I have people right now that are doing this kind of research as a labor of love for zero, with not expecting to ever get anything, and they never will get anything. I can probably guarantee you that. And I don't want anything myself. I'm not doing this to try to get anything. I'm just trying to do this to hopefully my kids will have a place to live. All right, I don't know if I showed you this or not, but this was back in September 2015. Now, this was shortly after I did my 9-part series on the sinkholes. I got from Ming and this other guy from Russia, Zagorsky, and I said, I'm willing to they want to do an interview, and I said, I'm willing to do whatever you need to bring this sinkhole problem to light. I'm available anytime, gladly do what I can. This is quite important to me. I was really upset. USA severely affected as well. A guy had just fallen through a sinkhole and they lost him down in Florida. It's a global problem and will require us all to cooperate. Russians, Chinese, Japanese, everybody, the entire world. If we are to address this, we are all family now. So then I did talk to the Russian guy and I scared him, and I think that's what stopped everything. All right, this is what really probably got me in trouble, because the Earth, I'm telling you, I say the Earth is alive. This was back in August again, 2015. I say it's alive, completely alive, and it's in trouble. And so I show these blue holes. I'm cutting in kind of into this thing. I don't want to show you the whole thing. It's not important. But I was very gentle, saying I don't really know a lot about this. I could use a lot of help, and only the ones that got back to me was the Russians and the Japanese, and they really didn't have much to say other than, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Now, these are what's happening in Florida and Russia. These are those blue holes dying. Now, these were underneath the tundra, and they weren't seen, but they still are the digesters. Now, as the tundra recedes, it's just caving in because the digesters are dying. Methane gas is coming up from the decomposition of the Earth, of the life of the Earth, is what I'm saying. It's all over. I think it's pretty obvious. I've made my case that the Earth is collapsing because we're taking out all of the things that kept the surface floating. I mean, literally, that's basically it. And so what does that mean? It means that fracking, we can't do that. And here's the reason, because the Earth is literally alive. Here, let's go way out to here. This is, at this point when I was talking to the Russians, there was 20 baby craters showed up just recently after there was a couple of big ones. Now, the giant craters in Siberia. This is the area in Siberia that's having this issue right. All right, this is an article by Brianne Kirby, very, very nicely done. And she is exploring in a dive in a blue hole. And she says, I just want to explain to you before we get in here. A blue hole, as you know, is one of those round sinkholes, but they're in the ocean. And they are the biodigesters for the ocean to take out all of the toxins and push them into the ocean. And you can see it is a digestive system. There's no question about it. And the layer on the bottom of the literal intestines that run out into the ocean is nothing more than the same kind of poop we have in us that is all broken down by bacteria and things that turn it into what you see at the end, which is not what you put inside of you. It comes out a little different. And it's because it's been worked on and broken down, as you will see. And she's saying, I am going through a digestive system. Listen to this. And that's what our Earth is. And if we don't come to grips with this, you could walk around in circles for 1,000,000 years. And that is what they will do, because this is so hard for them to get their mind around. The Earth is or was a living creature. Imagine that I was a tiny microbe moving through the gut of some impossibly large and fantastic beast, because she really literally was. And then she goes on to thinking of the specific topology of the blue hole, specific topology of the human gastrointestinal system, the mouth to the anus. Now, I have all of this stuff documented. I have all of this stuff on other videos. I have 9 videos that I'm explaining this. I'm explaining the foliations of the Earth, the fabric of the Earth. The Earth is alive, and there's virtually no question about it. So something's got to be looked at. This is a deep blue hole dive by Jonathan Bird. Jonathan Bird's Blue World, very, very good guy, and excellent on public TV. And here he goes. Listen carefully.
The bottom looks like it's sand, but it's actually a deep layer of silt. While Tim hovers high above the bottom to keep from kicking up silt, I perform a little experiment.
Listen
Down
to
on
this.
the bottom, I plunge my arm into the
This is what our
silt
mother
up to my
is eating.
shoulder, and it's even deeper.
You see what that is? That is so finely digested. Literally, it's digested. And that is going to be flushed out into the open ocean, and that digested material will become used by all of the different organisms that are in the microscopic range, and then that everything comes from the microscopic range up. But, you know, there'll be an extreme layer here that's built up over time, yes, but every time it sweeps out new stuff. And I'll show this in pretty good detail, I
Than
think.
that. This is a layer of decomposing leaves and other organic stuff. The decomposition creates hydrogen sulfide, a deadly
Digestive
gas that
juice.
smells like rotting eggs. The water is saturated with hydrogen sulfide, and I can smell it in the water that seeps around the edge of my mask.
We all know that smell. All right, this is the final part I'm going to show you
Blue
about.
hole connects through a vast labyrinth of
That
caves to
is
the
a
inlet
digestive
blue hole.
system.
And as we emerge into the open ocean, something looks weird. When the tide goes out, all the water from inside the caves...
Now don't forget, in us, we have, the stomach is very, very acidic, and it breaks down and destroys things and turns them into little bits and pieces like we just saw. And then it goes into the small intestine, and it gets hit with a lot of saltiness, basically, to take, it neutralizes it. Let's go with that. And as it flows through the digestive system, the we pull out what is necessary through the membranes. It allows certain things in and other things out. And when he talks about hydrogen sulfide, you're way down here. Hydrogen sulfide and sulfur, you're in the very low end of the molecular range, which the membranes have a ability to open up and allow certain size molecules through. It might be something like that. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Earth is or was alive. And here's the key. Fracking and all of the things we've been doing to the Earth, you can't do it. So that makes everybody turn and run away. And how do you, if you don't stop that, there will be no tomorrow.
Gets sucked out into the ocean, bringing with it silt and hydrogen sulfide from the inland blue holes. It forms clouds near the bottom with a distinct line between the clear ocean water above and the silty hydrogen sulfide layer below.
Check out the mucus
What you're
from mucus
seeing here are
membrane.
the decomposing remains of forest vegetation which have passed entirely through the caves and out into the ocean.
Sounds like digestive
Everywhere I
system to
find what
me.
look like strands of mucus floating in the water.
Same
It's
stuff
most
in ours.
likely mucus secreted by the coral in response to the caustic hydrogen sulfide.
All right, we're not going to have to go any more further with this, but this is that we do the exact same thing inside of our digestive system. There's mucous membranes, and the mucus is this, and the mucus is secreted when it has hydrogen sulfide and toxic gases. Toxic chemicals moving through your digestive system. Exactly the same thing, identical. I see no difference whatsoever. But then I got a little too. I went into talking about how the Earth is so alive that fracking it and doing all these other things, obviously going to not be good for it. You can't. You just can't do that if you want to continue life on the surface as we have it. Is there an alternative? And I say, yes, there is. And is there room for everybody to work in that range? Yes, there is. It would be such a gigantic increase to the way everybody could live and extract life from the Earth without destroying the Earth. Right now, to extract our living stuff from the Earth, we have to destroy the Earth. If we could recycle the electrons prior to them having to become solid and then gaseous form and then combine them, that's what they're talking about doing. That's just not the way to do it. The way to do it is to never have to break apart the big chunks of things that are chunks. We want to work with light. Light is the key to this whole thing. Electrons are the key. And I'll show you real quick, and then if somebody's willing to step up, I think we can do this within a couple of months. We should be able to have almost free electricity. I don't see a problem. I really don't, honestly. All right, these are CERN's words. These are Fermilab's words, not mine. This is pulsed red laser. When it accelerates and it separates, if we can create a muon separated from the electron, we have increased the energy value a minimum of 200 times, and that's what we are seeing here. That's not exceptionally energetic. That is. And in this region right here is raw energy 200 times, they say, not me, they say minimum 200 times more energetic than the particle here. So if we started with a 1 here and we got 200 here, that's 200 times more than what we started with here. That means 199 free energies. Not only that, we might be able to, because at this point right here, our electrons are actually disassociated from the muons. So we are so down into the particle bits that I would assume whatever comes through this region here is going to be blown into little tiny bits as well. So if you sent carbon dioxide through here, you might create that into hydrocarbons. All right, my point is, I don't have all the answers. I don't have any resources to speak of other than what I have shown you. We've done this on the very cheap, and I think we can do it still on the very cheap, and I think it can create a whole lot of good for society. I know it's going to be traumatic for some people, but it's so traumatic for the Earth that if we don't do something, we're in so much trouble now that my kids will not see a natural death. This planet cannot exist with these conditions for much longer. Already, the atmosphere is so compressed that it's forcing our atmosphere against the atmosphere in space. Let me just show you what's happening. All right, there's literally nobody in their right mind that could disagree with the fact that space has to be completely saturated with particles that are being emitted from the sun. Not only that, a 10-year-old should understand that if the sun is 7,000 degrees on its surface and it's 1,000,000 degrees out here, how did it get hotter out here than on the surface? It doesn't increase. The reason it increased is because these particles are scrubbing like a tire on a pavement against these particles, creating millions of degrees, the same as us. 2,700 degrees out here where we scrub, 80 or so on the surface. And it's electron to electron, push to shove. Everything I have shown shows this. And the people that are in charge don't even understand that it's not a carbon dioxide blanket. It has nothing to do with a carbon dioxide blanket. It's an increasing envelope of gases that's pushing harder and harder and harder against the oncoming gases that are particles from the sun and from every other luminous body. We're scrubbing through them. If we can't reduce the amount of expansion, like blowing up a balloon, and that's what happens every time you burn something. It increases its size exponentially. Water, even, when it evaporates or when it turns into hydrogen and oxygen from its H2O combined status, it increases 1,600 times. Maybe, I think it's 1,600, maybe 600, I don't know. It's gigantic. Hydrocarbons go up 150 times, something like that, when they come out of... I don't know. There's a huge increase, and the only way we can get out of this is to use something like I'm showing with the venturi, where we recoup the energy right within its own encapsulated system. Because once you start to, I don't care how you harvest energy, even when you have to make these solar panels, somebody's got to make them. Somebody's got to melt something. Somebody's got to create wiring. You got to do this. You got to do that. With the venturi, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot to do, but I don't think it's. I just don't know. We just need to investigate it and see if it's going to work at all. I don't know if it'll do anything. But until we look at it, and it's been years and years and years, so it's just the way it works. And now, finally, hopefully President Biden is serious about what he's talking about. Nobody talked to me. Nobody will talk to a Roger. Now, why? I got more evidence on this than anybody. Fermi Lab, I blow them out of the water. And they won't talk to me because they know I got them. All of them. None of them. CERN, too. Well, CERN is now understanding. Actually, CERN is looking into my research, as a matter of fact. See, look, LHC photon collider. And they say they were going to do this years ago. They just never did it. They were considering doing this in 1978. They just never got it off the ground. It says these collisions are very clean. What I showed you is as clean as they can get. Colliding photons, elementary particles. It was first proposed to do this type of physics at LHC many years ago, but the project never materialized. They never got it off the ground because they couldn't figure it out. And now they understand. They've been watching me. They realize that it's a venturi, two things coming together in a pinch that shoots out this particle. So why don't we talk? Why don't we talk? I don't have the resources to do this. I have the ideas. I know right now I got a bunch of different experiments I'd like to see done, and I think right away we could harvest free energy, almost really, literally within a month or two. So I'm going to leave it at that. I love you all. Have a sterling day. Okay, I'm going to kind of leave it at this. I've been trying for a very long time to get Dr. Don Lincoln at Fermi Labs to discuss with me, or at least to comment on my work, because I am showing exactly what CERN and all of them are looking for. They call it, let's just look at it. I just sent this the other day, asking him to debate me. I deserve to be part of this. I'm going to show you this muon, and I'm going to show you these electron showers. And I've shown them many, many times. They were normally attached together, a black ball and a white ball. That's the muon, that's the electron. Together, back to back, two of them together make a photon. When they come through the air, the leading one collides and is the extreme source of energy. That makes everything spin like a top, exactly what they are looking for. This is the electron showers. These black balls are the muons, exactly what they are looking for. They just never realized what I realized, and I realized it because I've been working on this for 10 years. And we worked on it very hard, Rod and I, together. Now, then we got a hold of Fabian, who enhanced the particles. And you see that with the black center? Those are always going to be the most concussive of any particles. And they show them as black holes. These, even in electron phase, they have a black center when they are extremely violently concussed.